Code tour. We got to go to all the places and experience a lot of the adventure that...
Many movies have since graced the Hollywood scene. However, none did phenomenally well like the Da Vinci Code. Before its debut, only a few films earned topmost status, but when it hit the theaters, it rattled every foundation and made its name as an underdog. Today, everyone sings the praises of the Da Vinci Code, but did you know that several weird facts accompanied the movie? Not to bore you with long talks, here are 20 weird facts about the Da Vinci Code you didn't know existed before. Number 20. The author Dan Brown had a niche in singing, particularly the pop genre. Did you know that the movie The Da Vinci Code was a story based on the world-selling novel The Da Vinci Code, and the author was a pop singer? Not many knew this. Nevertheless, it didn't stop him from writing a flawless novel that became the center of attraction worldwide. The book, which Dan Brown wrote, became a phenomenal sensation after he brought to life the ecstasy of words in conjunction with emotions that resonated with everyone. The most amusing thing about this scenario was that he was a pop singer with several tracks before he even thought of writing the novel. A notable one is his song 976 Love. He held on to his dreams, and even though he didn't make it so big musically, he made everyone feel the impact of his vocal cords. Dan's aspirations to become a singer and a writer reinforce again and again that it is easier to achieve anything provided your heart is in it. Number 19. Dan's dad was also a phenomenal writer. Not often have we seen a father and son making it big in a similar niche because everyone is created special. But you know what's special about the Brown family? They settled in a writing niche, and not just that, they made every day count in countless ways. Dan's father didn't just train him along the paths of writing, he was also a writer. Are you aware that he wrote one of the many math textbooks that got everyone talking? He is an astute guru who brings into writing the training necessary for deep insight into mathematics. Richard Brown wrote the advanced mathematics textbook for writing's sake and because he loves mathematics. It was even said that he was once approached to be in the NSA. Unfortunately, he turned it down for family reasons. Richard Brown holds a degree in mathematics and never stops showcasing what he can do because it is right in his bloodstream. He isn't just a phenomenal mathematician, but one who poured his life into what he does so that everyone could drink from his well of knowledge. This is a family affair. One of Dan Brown's children may be plowing this route in time. Number 18. Night filming was handy for several reasons. Every movie has a series of regulations that guide its execution, and on most occasions they must be followed accurately. The Da Vinci Code wasn't devoid of regulations, but it had to abide by the rules stipulated for the movie. Most of the scenes in the film were shot in the Louvre Museum in Paris, and specific rules were put in place for this to happen. To protect both the fabric of the building and the works of art it contained, the production's use of the museum was brought under thorough scrutiny. Rules were given that wise. No equipment was allowed inside the museum in the early hours, so filming was mostly done at nightfall for them to get a perfect shoot. During filming, they were not allowed to shine light on the Mona Lisa. They had to make do with an alternative. A replica was used for filming instead. As they went on with the shoot, stricter rules were conferred on them, and for no reason did they default. No blood or mysterious writings were permitted on the wooden floor of the museum. Met with these hindrances, the production team had to stroll down to Pinewood Studios outside London. To make matters worse, 5 replicas were used. The Da Vinci Code was quite stressful, but thanks to the production team, which never gave up. Number 17, a breach in speech. Most directors in a typical movie shoot devise strategies for filming, and the aim is usually to achieve a particular shot in an intended way. Did you know that during the filming of the Da Vinci Code, Teabing was intentionally stopped because he was acting out his role? The reason for the breach was unknown at the time. Nevertheless, it raised eyebrows among the crew. When Teabing was describing the passage in the Lost Gospel of Philip, he was interrupted before he could finish quoting a line about Jesus kissing Magdalene. This was quite weird, and nobody understood why it happened that way. It happened that way several times, and he kept his cool when he saw nothing he could do nothing. However, several months after the debut, the reason for the breach in speech was brought to light. Elaine Pagels, whose book on the Gnostic Gospels was a source for Dan Brown's novel, made a shocking revelation during an interview that left everyone dumbfounded. In an interview on NPR's Day to Day, a religious historian said the gospel was deliberately broken, where Teabing stopped talking so he wouldn't make any attempt to speak further. No one knows if this development was religiously orchestrated. However, it goes a long way to show that certain movie scenes are born out of several religious orchestrations. This somehow never bothered Teabing. He was only out to give his best, and delivered perfectly each time he was called upon. What a way of handling sensitive matters. Teabing should be given his flowers. Number 16. An unusual question during the audition. Auditions have got to be one of the most challenging tasks before any movie shoot kicks off formally. Both producers and directors are left to brainstorm various strategies for choosing different casts, which is usually quite taxing. You will be starstruck to know that during the casting of the Da Vinci Code, the producers and directors asked an unusual question. It was pretty awkward, and even though the cast at the center didn't find it offensive, many who heard it later questioned their thought process. While many give their own views, none hit the nail on the head. Did you know that during the filming of the Da Vinci Code, Audrey Tautou was placed in a hot seat by the question she was asked during the audition? Even though she didn't make any statement when it happened, she felt bad for being treated in some way. In the most strange of ways, she asked if she could take a photo of Ron Howard and Tom Hanks to prove that she met them, as the audition team had requested that she bring proof of it. No one knows precisely what question she was asked. However, it seemed quite off in the eyes of some. Well, nothing good comes easy. If that was the price she paid to get into the movie, it isn't that bad. Many have paid prices far greater than this. The Hollywood industry isn't for the faint-hearted, and Audrey Tautou proved just that with her composure. Number 15. Some officials stood their ground. Every movie meets challenges at some point during filming. However, how they manage them actually determines how far they can go in making things work. Filming the Da Vinci Code wasn't always smooth. It had its fair share of challenges. At one point, they almost called it quits, but thanks to the producers, who never gave in to suggestions of packing up. It is strange to know that during the filming of the Da Vinci Code, officials from Britain's Westminster Abbey refused to allow filming to take place in the Abbey. They cited several reasons. However, one of them stood out among them. According to passers-by, their claims were actually baseless. Nevertheless, they made their point anyway. When the Da Vinci Code crew decided to stop at the Abbey with the intention of filming, they were vehemently stopped because the officials told them they couldn't because the novel was theologically unsound. This might be true. However, no one saw it that way. They only faulted the Abbey's stance, that notwithstanding their grounds remained valid and nothing would change it. After several back and forths with the matter, the movie's producers concluded that it wouldn't work, so they searched for other alternatives. Lincoln Cathedral in eastern England offered them leverage in no distant time, and they shot in its environs. Nothing could come easy, the director would later say. It was a stepping stone to greatness, and thank God they achieved it. Number 14. Permission was required before they could film in the Louvre. It's natural to consider seeking permission when filming in areas outside one's jurisdiction. The producers of the Da Vinci Code understood this and made a way to get one before filming in the Louvre. However, they received a specific request from the French president. Did you know that when filming was about to kick off in the Louvre, the producers took a step towards finalizing how to film without obstruction? In a string of calculated steps, they sent a message to French President Jacques Chirac seeking his permission. In the same array of events, the president invited producers Brian Grazer and Ron Howard. When asked, they thought they would speak to the president via a 5-minute photo call. However, things went in their favor, and they spent an hour conversing with the president. It was an interesting moment for the producers, and their request was granted in a moment. However, this didn't come without a stiff price on their part, and because they were pretty prepared, they paid it all without further exaggeration. Chirac suggested Jean Reno should have a pay raise, and that his daughter's best friend and actress should be cast as Sophie Neveu. This is proof of a valid transaction, and Chirac and the producers had a fair bargain in the process. Number 13. A particular cast was not actually considered for a role. Casting roles in movies comes with several dysfunctions, and most producers would risk anything to be on the safer side. The Da Vinci Code movie wasn't different. It had its own dysfunction before filming. Did you know that Ron Howard's first envisioned choice for the role of Robert Langdon was Bill Paxton? His choice of Bill Paxton was based on his intellectual prowess and years of expertise. However, it didn't work as he had envisioned. Bill Paxton couldn't keep up with the taxing demands of filming because of scheduling problems. At the time, he had several engagements going on for him, so that he couldn't meet up with the pressing demands of Howard, so he turned it down. Russell Crowe was contacted almost immediately, but couldn't make it for personal reasons. At some point, the producer nearly got frustrated until he threw his tentacles further. Fortunately for him, Tom Hanks, his longtime friend, was just around the corner then, and together they struck a deal. Hanks was eventually cast for the role, and in no distant time, Howard learned the reason for the delays in casting, as Hanks culled every scene he acted in. Ralph Fiennes, Hugh Jackman, and George Clooney were also considered. Hanks's casting in the role of Robert Langdon was a miracle, and both Howard and the entire crew couldn't be less grateful for his impact. Number 12. Dan Brown, named T-Bing after two authors. Getting names suitable for a particular cast in a typical movie isn't relatively easy, as it goes through several scrutiny before it can be incorporated into the movie scenes properly. When the producers of the Da Vinci Code were selecting a cast for the movie, they came face to face with a naming challenge, which brought the process to a halt for a while. The producers did a lot of brainstorming, likewise the scriptwriter, but the more they did, the less they dared to come up with a clue to what they needed. However, after several trials, they stumbled upon a clue, and within a jiffy they got the gears rolling. Dan Brown had no choice but to name a character Sir Lee T-Bing after two authors. Amazingly, the two authors were Richard Lee and Michael Bajent, who have to their name Holy Blood, Holy Grail. It was an interesting moment to behold as a larger puzzle was solved within a few minutes. They loved everything about the name, which helped channel their role in their desired perspective. Lee was coined from the surname Richard, while T-Bing is an anagram of Bajent. Together they made a perfect combination, and the rest is history. T-Bing was always fun to watch in every scene he appeared in, and he never fell short of the producer's expectations. If the movie The Da Vinci Code is mentioned anywhere, his name couldn't be erased from history. Number 11. Controversy came along the line. Every movie has its own battle to fight. Most times, if it isn't won, many casualties may result from its aftermath. No one believed the Da Vinci Code could raise a dust, but contrary to what they thought, it brought a lot of controversy, so much so that it gave the hostile critics something to feast on. Did you know that the initial release of the Da Vinci Code was actually stalled from the worldwide release in India, owing to the Jesuits' protest? It was something no one envisaged. However, it raised many eyebrows that questioned the authenticity of the source. It got so bad that the court had to judge matters related to this movie on countless bases. However, after several back and forth with the matter, the appeal was overruled in favor of the movie, but not without a heartbreaking condition. The court overruled the appeal on the basis that the book would be banned because the movie was actually a byproduct of the book. Further circulation of the book was halted, and the movie was rendered harmless. Not many movies can survive such a harsh condition at a time like this. Nevertheless, the Da Vinci Code proved it was an underdog and would remain even after many years. 2000 was a busy year for the movie, but despite all it faced, it became stronger. This isn't some cliché, but the truth that kept on unraveling bit by bit. Number 10. Howard's wife got a short appearance in the movie. Many movies come with surprises, but the surprise of seeing a producer's wife on set is one many can't really wrap their heads around. While others are skeptical about featuring their spouse in projects they handle, Howard didn't even blink an eye when he brought his beautiful wife before the cameras. Guess you didn't know that Howard's wife appeared in the movie The Da Vinci Code. Even though you might be hearing it for the first time, she did appear in the show. Cheryl Howard, producer Ron Howard's wife, appeared as an audience member attending Professor Robert Langdon's lecture on religious symbology. Even though her appearance lasted for 4 minutes and 15 seconds, she did a perfect job, so much so that she even wowed her husband. It's safe to say that she will make a good actress. Even though the thought never came to her, it's in the blood. She also made another subtle appearance in the movie. This time, She clutched her copy of Langdon's autographed opus at his book signing desk and asked him to sign his last book. Seeing her do so much in just 5 minutes and 40 seconds was phenomenal. She should be given more roles so that the potential within her flows ceaselessly without obstacles. Number 9. A bargain that happened behind the cameras. Right from the onset, the Da Vinci Code novel has always been loved by many, even before a fraction of it was adapted into a movie. The pace at which everyone loved it was surprising. Nevertheless, its relevance never waned. Did you know that before the Da Vinci Code was released, creator Joel Surnow in 2001 thought it would provide an excellent storyline for the show's 3rd season and pulled all strings to make it happen? First, he presented the idea to his boss, producer Brian Grazer, who bought it without exaggeration. However, when he proceeded to purchase the rights to the book, he was met with stiff opposition that shattered his dreams. The novel's author, Dan Brown, refused to abide by his wish, so his wish was stalled until later. Disappointed with what transpired, he left his dreams in the hands of unfortunate circumstances while seeking ways to move on with life. However, the shocking part of this scenario was when the same book was sold on a platter of gold without any obstruction. Several months after Dan Brown refused his book to be used for a show, he was met by buyers from Sony Pictures who persuaded him to sell the book's rights so they could create something spectacular with it. At first, it seemed like he wouldn't give in to their options, but after several back and forths, he agreed. The rights to the novel were sold for $6 million, and Dan went smiling to the bank. Sony Pictures also hired Brian Grazer as producer, and within a few months, they churned out a fantastic piece.
Did the church finally get her?
Number 8. Some clips didn't make the final cut. In a typical movie shoot, producers and directors decide which clips make it to the final cut. Most times, they are even lost in the euphoria of the clips that they actually miss 1 or 2, and the best clips may not make it to the final cut. The Da Vinci Code falls into this category because the clips never made it. Did you know that the novel contains a sequence in which Sophie and Langdon escaped from a museum guard by Sophie threatening to destroy a Da Vinci painting? This was shot, but didn't make it to the final cut. In fact, images from this scene were included with the published screenplay, but why it was left behind when the final cut was being allocated is something no one can really understand. The crew was also confused when the movie came out, and those scenes were not included. While some could not make a verbal confession, others voiced their frustrations, saying it was more of a wasted effort. However, some of these scenes are restored to the movie in the extended edition DVD available in Great Britain Region 2, but as of 2007, not available in Region 1, the US and Canada. Oh well. There was nothing anyone could do. After all, the production had tangible reasons why they weren't open to making it a final clip, and even if no one was briefed, it could be for the good of the movie. Most matters are better left unattended, and this is one of them. Number 7. A major similarity with another movie. Several times, movies are closely related because of the similar scenes in both, and other times, it may be because they both have the same parameters. Did you know that the Da Vinci Code is identical to the TV series The Bill? How is it possible? Oh well. Are you aware that some of the Metropolitan Police Sedasa used in the London scenes are the identical vehicles used in the ITV television series The Bill? Quite interesting. How they came up with this fact isn't that taxing, though. When the need for metropolitan vehicles arose, they had no choice but to pull all strings to achieve what they wanted. Even though they never planned on using identical cars used in The Bill, they couldn't wait a little longer because they were running behind schedule and forced to do what was available. Amazingly, it came out beautifully. These vehicles were initially purchased from S. McNeely & Sons, now Babcock International. This company supplied the Met with their cars, which indicates that the vehicles were not faked metropolitan vehicles but were authentic in all ramifications. However, this didn't change the movie's perspective, nor did it make it look less than what it was. It was necessary for the shoot, otherwise most scenes wouldn't have carried the aura it has now. This is to say that shooting a movie requires intelligence and patience, and when these two come together, they produce phenomenal results, and the Da Vinci Code is one of them.
Professor Langdon, you're in grave danger.
From director Ron.
Number 6. Cameo appearance that made the difference. Movies are not exclusive to cameo appearances, and most times if it features one, it actually brings to life several factors that alter the whole perspective of the movie. Several cameo appearances were made during filming the Da Vinci Code, but unless you were sensitive to each scene, you wouldn't know it happened. Did you know that Dan Brown, the author of the novel used as a template for the movie, appeared in a particular scene? Unbelievable, nevertheless he did. When Robert Langdon is talking to the police during the signing party for his book, Dan is spotted to the left of Tom Hanks immediately after the line, "We found your name in his daily planner." He was putting on a Harris tweed jacket from his dust jacket publicity photo. This was sharp, but that wasn't the only time he was seen. He was spotted a short time before at 5 minutes and 9 seconds when the camera pans through the crowd, talking to a man while holding one of Langdon's books. Dan is worthy of all commendation, if not for anything, for penning a spectacular novel that becomes a platform for many movies.
Determines actively our ability to understand the present. So, how do we sift truth?
Number 5. Some of the shots were fake. It's not unusual for movies to orchestrate a fake stunt during filming because if those scenes were shot the way it was written in the script, many casualties would emerge and it would not be suitable for the movie. While shots from the Da Vinci Code aren't completely fake, there were pieces of genuine stunts here and there. Are you aware that the close-up shots of the exterior of Rosslyn Chapel are genuine? However, this was because the chapel was swathed in scaffolding during the filming. This must have been a mighty risk. Nevertheless, they pulled through. Right when it seemed like the subsequent shots of the Rosslyn Chapel came from a deception orchestrated by the camera crew, the second shot, looking up a wooded hillside to the chapel, is indeed a shot of Roslyn Glen, with the chapel in the correct location, but with another chapel pasted in. It was done to achieve their aim, but you wouldn't know what happened there if you weren't told. The penultimate scene at the ruined castle was also a manipulation purported by the camera operators. It was a partial ruin a couple of 100 yards from the chapel. It is privately owned, but visitors can easily view the exterior and the bridge shown in the film. Nevertheless, the shots mirrored every scene the producers and directors wanted them to. No wonder the Da Vinci Code appeared the way it did.
It's when they're in order. These are scrambled. If he was trying to reach out, maybe he was doing it in code. Would you?
Number 4, a compilation that made sense. What makes a producer stand out from his contemporaries and elites isn't necessarily his shooting skills, but the depth of creativity that runs through his veins. Without exaggeration, the producer of the Da Vinci Code showed some level of creativity while filming the scenes. Except if you watched closely, you would be forced to think that what happened was something he didn't plan for, but that's not true. Near the end of the movie's trailer, an incorporation wowed many, yet no one knew how it came about. In the trailer, "seek" in the phrase "seek the truth" is highlighted. But here is the catch. When the cast names were shown, the letters T, H, S, E, C, D, and O were highlighted. If you ever try to rearrange the highlighted letters and add the word, you get the phrase "seek the codes." How he came up with such a beautiful manipulation isn't all mind-blowing, but the truth it revealed in its entirety gives the viewers a clue to understanding all that was incorporated in each scene. Howard must be a genius. No one could ever try to deny that.
Fash wiped clean before you arrived.
Number 3. The source of the name of the character John Langdon. A source inspires the name of every character in a movie, and somehow the source must reflect the intended purpose of the name. Just before casting began properly for the movie The Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown, the script's author, was confused at some point, not knowing what name could fit a character he was constructing at the time. He even went down memory lane to see if he could at least pick something that portrayed his interest, but to no avail. However, after much trial and error, he got a clue, and amazingly, it bailed him out of imminent frustration at the time. He said, "What if I name the characters like I did for others in the movie?" With that notion in mind, Dan Brown named the main character Robert Langdon after John Langdon, a close friend and typographer master who worked with Brown on ambigram designs for his book Angels and Demons, as well as the movies. And to be honest, it fulfilled every locked desire in his heart. John Langdon also designed an ambigram that was used in error. For Dan, it was like he had won a lottery because everything about him at the time was put on hold. After all, he could not get the desired name. Eventually, Robert Langdon played his role phenomenally well and gave everyone who cared a reason to keep asking for more of what was deposited in him. This all began with Dan's courageousness in taking that first step.
But it's a really unusual mystery thriller, and it operates on a lot of different dimensions. It deals with...
Number 2. Ron Howard's decision was halted. With each passing day in a typical shoot, producers come up with several creative ideas just to streamline the movie to their desired taste. And if all things are equal, they can go to all lengths to make it happen. Did you know that one of Howard's creative ideas, which would have brought new looks to the movie, was halted? And no matter how he tried to get things working on his part, he was met with stiff opposition that made him change his mind. When the filming of the Da Vinci Code was ongoing, Howard originally wanted to film inside King's College Library. According to him, there was a concept he felt could become an iconic scene for viewers, but it never went through. At the time, the college was careful not to disrupt the library's daily routine, so they refused. Filming in the library would warrant that they close some part of the library. When the college management scrutinized his intention, they refused to grant him his request, not because they hated him, but because of the damage it would cause those who frequent the library for educational purposes. Oh well, sometimes we don't get what we want. Howard understood this and decided to move on with his filming process. Not every producer could do this. He showed that maturity isn't a function of how old you are, but how you can manage the conflicts you face.
He would have wanted you to know that he loved you very much. And that...
Number 1. Many actresses audition for the role of Sophie. Most movies eventually make it to the box office because of their cast. This is why, in most cases, producers take time to hit the nail on the head. When casting started for the Da Vinci Code, getting someone to play the character, Sophie, was difficult. Howard wanted someone who could drive the storyline in a manner that captivates viewers. Honestly, the search went on for many days. He didn't give up too quickly because he knew what he wanted. Many actresses auditioned for the role of Sophie, but none could deliver a perfect piece that resonated with Howard. And even the people Howard had at heart couldn't perform in the manner that he wanted. Julie Delpy and Kate Beckinsale were two of the original people thought for the role of Sophie. However, they couldn't meet expectations when given the trial script to at least make something good out of it. Though disappointed, Howard didn't give up his pursuit too quickly. Did you also know that after Delpy fell short of expectations, she tried lobbying for the role? Nevertheless, all her efforts ended because Howard was particular about excellence, and nothing short of it would do. After several back and forths with the audition process, Audrey Tautou eventually secured the role and delivered it with remarkable depth and authenticity. Her portrayal elevated the story and brought a particular nuance and charm that resonated deeply with worldwide audiences. It is difficult to imagine what the movie would have been without her. Had another actress stepped into the role, the outcome might have fallen far below expectations, both artistically and at the box office. Today, when people mention the Da Vinci Code, the spotlight often shines on the film's global success, compelling mystery, and the controversy surrounding its release. Yet many forget too soon the immense dedication, sacrifices, and quiet battles behind the scenes, the relentless pursuit of excellence from the cast and crew, the vision of director Ron Howard, and the meticulous performances of actors like Tautou who carried the story from script to screen together. The Da Vinci Code remains one of those rare films that does not lose its appeal with time. Each viewing offers something new, a detail missed before, a line that suddenly feels profound, or a clue that ties the puzzle more tightly. It is, in every sense, an evergreen piece, one that continues to stir thought, ignite curiosity, and spark conversations even years after its release. The film industry hopes to produce more works of this caliber. These stories combine intellectual intrigue with compelling artistry, guided by producers and directors who dare to chase perfection. For that to happen, we need more visionaries like Ron Howard, who are willing to demand the highest standards, even when it requires difficult choices. If such filmmakers continue to emerge, we may once again witness cinematic creations that stand the test of time, just as the Da Vinci Code has. Which of these facts resonated deeply with you, and what is your basis for making such an assertion? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as many amazing videos are waiting for you.